Boker Tov Mispika, Hayah, Akazah, Yisrael. Good morning, family. I am Akazah Yisrael, and today we're getting into that part 3 of Yahweh being Yahweh coming against Babylon. All right. I believe where we left off at last was the definition of flee, right? So we're going to just pick back up there and go ahead and march on in this word. Now, flee from the Random House College Dictionary, copyright 2000, on page 501, is to run away. As from danger or pursuers, right? It's to take flight. It's to move and pass swiftly. Okay, now this is encouraging us to flee away from the lifestyle of America. Okay, because as Yahweh is getting ready to make that move and destroy America, the only way we, his children, can be saved from this destruction is if we flee the American mindset. If we flee the American philosophy, the lifestyle, its culture, its trends, its behaviors, its entertainment, its politics, criminal properties, businesses, and all of these things. Because to be joined onto her is to receive the same punishment that she is going to be afflicted, as it states in the book of Isaiah, chapter 13, verse 15. Let's run over there real quick to see what Yahweh said, what was going to happen to all of those joined up with her, right? Let's just see. Now, Isaiah chapter 13, verse 15. Everyone that is found shall be thrust through. Everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. So we don't want to fall by the sword. We want to be saved. All right. This day is the day that Yahweh comes to save the capturers, right? But it's also duality, because this is also the day that Yahweh vengeance shall be known. Okay. Because Yahweh is doing a mop-up job of unholy people. So it becomes imperative that we take corrected actions while we still have the chance. So I ask you today, what are you willing to give up to save your life? What are you willing to give up to save your children's lives? What are you willing to give up to save your partner's life? Right? Are you willing to give up the immorality? If so, you have to start putting in the work today, okay? By studying to show ourselves approved, then we might be saved. Now, what's important about the word might is that it's the past tense of will, okay? So we have to learn to disappear, vanish from sight, and pass out of sight and leave the scene of America. Meaning the people you used to hang out with, if they are not about the conversion into holiness, disappear from them. Do not bless them anymore with your presence. You do not have to hate them because they don't want to change. You just want to save your life. Okay? So when you start to convert from a hyena into a lion, lions and hyenas, they don't mix. They're actually kind of mortal enemies, but they don't mix. If you're a fowl, like you used to flock around with pigeons, but now you have to become an eagle, you have to soar higher. You have to leave those pigeons down here, and you have to take on the lofty seat. Okay? It's by dematerializing yourself from things that were negative. Again, Yahweh is telling us to flee from these things. And that means you have to take on the spiritualization and become spiritized. Now, the spiritualize is to make spiritual and to invest with a spiritual meaning. For instance, like in Romans chapter 8, verse 1 through 15, right? It says, there is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in the Mashiach, Yahweh ben Yahweh, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For the law of the Spirit of life in the Mashiach, Yahweh ben Yahweh, hath made me free from the law of sin and death. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, Yahweh sending his own Son, Yahweh ben Yahweh, in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin condemned sin in the flesh, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal minded is enmity against Yahweh, for it is not subjected to the law of God, Yahweh, neither indeed can be. So then, they that are in the flesh cannot please Yahweh. But ye are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit. And if so be that the Spirit of Yahweh dwell in you. See, that's important. Again, so Yahweh is asking us to flee from the mental captivity of America and to become dematerialized from its materialistic mindset and to put on the spiritualized or the spiritized form, which is then giving us a spiritual meaning, right? What's that spiritual meaning? You're taking on the characteristics of Yahweh. That's the only way you can be saved, is if your spirit is like Yahweh's spirit and Yahweh's spirit is in your spirit, okay? Now, if any man have not the spirit of the Mashiach, right? The Adonai, Yahweh ben Yahweh, he is none of his. And if Yahweh ben Yahweh be in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the spirit is life because of righteousness. But if the Spirit of Yahweh that raised up Yahweh ben Yahweh from the dead dwells in you, he that raised up the Mashiach, Yahweh ben Yahweh, from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by the Spirit that dwelleth in you. Therefore, brethren, we are debtors, not to the flesh, but to live after the flesh. For if ye live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, then you shall live. For as many are as led by the Spirit of Yahweh, they are the sons of Yahweh. For ye have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but ye have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father, Yahweh. So remember when Yahweh ben Yahweh tells us in the book of John that unto many as received him, unto them he gave the power to become sons of God in John chapter 1. Well, we just read right there that for as many as are led by the Spirit of God, Yahweh. So if Yahweh's Spirit leads you, right, that means you have conformed, you have studied morality, you have studied discipline, and you have put on these characteristics, which is the embodiment essence of Yahweh and Yahweh ben Yahweh. They are disciplined. You can't make them crumble. They are disciplined, right? They have a controlled behavior. They have trained their minds to take on the special instructions, right? And they have drilled it into their very essence, into their DNA molecules of to be righteous, right? So once we do this, then that's how we become sons and daughters of Yahweh. We have to study Yahweh ben Yahweh's divine mind, and we take on his character, we practice it, we master it, and then our spirits become like his spirit. And then we too become sons and daughters of Yahweh. Praise Yahweh. Right? Now, it's all about getting the recompense, okay? Now, the recompense is the treatment. Now, your treatment is determined on your service. It can be good, it can be bad. Again, it's all depending on your deeds, okay? It's the requital of either negative or the positive, right? It's all about what you have served. Now, served is your works. Now, I know in the book of James, chapter 2, verse 17 and 18, right? Verse 21, 22, right? Verse 24, 25, and 26 is all about show me thy works, and it will show thy faith. Now, if you have faith, but you have no works, then it's dead. It means absolutely nothing. You have to have deeds. You have to have service. Without deeds and service, your faith is vain, right? Now, it's all about being truthful with yourself. I discovered about myself when I was doing some mindful meditation that for years I was overconfident. And you would think being overconfident, is a good thing. But when you look up the definitions of overconfident, it actually causes one to make mistakes because they think that they got it, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, and I thought about all the mistakes I've made in my past. And I said, yeah, I was overconfident. That was my curse, overconfidence. So now I'm practicing being mindful, trying to be patient, right? I'm studying the definitions of discipline, which took me to systematic, which took me to the constituting of arrangement, of doing it step by step, right? Which took me into train, which is, practicing this specialized instruction, and to do it with peace of obedience, and having to drill these definitions into my mind. It told me to sow the seed of success. And then I thought to myself, where have I heard that? Where it gave the parable. Let's go ahead and go to it real quick, where it says that, the kingdom of Yahweh is like unto a man who sowed some seed, right? And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is talking about that. So I just thought that was pretty cool, right? So, you have to be honest with yourself. That's the only way that we can be saved, all right? That's the only way that we can be saved in this time of hardship, right? So we're going to continue. We're going to go to Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7, which the followed up scripture will be Revelation chapter 18, verses 6, as well as verse 3. But it says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Well, cup in this essence in the Hebrew is kos, right? Which is kaf, wav, samek, which is an unclean bird, as the golden eagle on the flagpole. Now, I find that very mind-blowing because, again, it's letting you know that Babylon, in this essence, is an epithet for America. And even the golden cup was another epithet, which is a name or a title that befits a person, right? Again, it says an unclean bird, which the eagle is an unclean bird, right? It doesn't eat the cud. It's, it's unclean, right? And it says the golden eagle on the flagpole. So I thought that was pretty cool, right? So we know that this is talking about America of today. Now, drunken is shakar, which is sheen, kaf, resh, in Hebrew, which means to satiate with something stimulating or influencing. So drunken in this essence, and as in many essence, have duality. It has two meanings. It's people can always just say, oh, it's about getting drunk. But no, sometimes you can get drunk on influence when someone can induce you to do things outside of your character, the way that alcohol can induce you to act wild when under its influence, right? Now, influence is the capacity to have an effect on the character, the development, or behavior of someone, as well as something. It's to have the power to shape a policy or ensure a favorable treatment from someone, especially through status, contract, contact, and wealth. Now, policy is a course or principles of actions adopted or even proposed by an organization or individual. Some synonyms to this is philosophy, position, bipartisan, policy, a non-intervention policy, a gold slow policy, a planned economy, right? So when they're talking about a planned economy, the first thing I thought about was like that Project 2025, right? What is that? What does it really unfurls? Well, we're going to find out when it unfurls itself. But what is it? It is a planned society policy, right? Things that they're going to be dropping every now and then to get the overall achievement of what they're trying to do, as well as price support. So this policy is going to back up the price support of why everything is going up, which in this case is the tariffs, right? So that's something to just keep in mind. By putting tariffs on other countries, those countries have put tariffs back on America, and now us, the poor citizens, they got to stay in this bondage here, have to suffer the penalties of the rich man doing this to other countries. And now here we are paying these ridiculous prices for the same food that costs the very same to make. Bipartisans is involving an agreement or a cooperation of two political parties that usually opposes each other's policies, right? Now, the philosophy is the composure, the ideology, the reasoning, the school of being cool-headed in systems of ideas, having systems of theories, and having been given a world view of rationalizing and using their induction to discourse in a group setting their reasonings of doing why or what they're doing, right? Or why they're doing these things and what reason for, right? Now, they give an example of this in Psalms chapter 2, verse 1 through 3, as well as in 83, 2 through 5, right? Which is the course of action taking place and the policy riddled with bipartisans and agreements having to take place. The other countries have fallen for the snare of Satan by being induced through their lust. And that just means that for years, the American currency was the only currency primarily being used worldwide during the trade routes. And now you have countries like China, Russia, North Korea, India, Taiwan, and all these other places, Canada, I believe is going to join up with them with the BRICS, which is going to help make their countries more powerful, simultaneously crippling the American country by using their own currency and stopping the U.S. dollar from being the main currency will cause the prophecy of Genesis 47:15, in my opinion, to occur, where it states that the money shall fail. Well, the money is only as powerful as it is today because, as I just mentioned, other countries was forced to use it during all of their trading. But now they're coming up with the BRICS, which is challenging that very essence, right? And it is messing with the rationalization between countries and so-called allies. Praise Yahweh. Now, Revelations 18:3 says, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." Now, all is again including all, which is the form of declension. So all that did business with her, all that subjected themselves unto her, that are receiving these tariffs now, their mental state went from a standard quality to a declining quality, to the point where they're fed up and they say, you know what, enough is enough. I want my own currency to help boost my economy. Why should we be subjected to using your currency only? We're not doing it no more. And it's causing ripples in the water, if you will. So it's and then nations is of a race of the same tribe or of a foreigner. You know, someone that is non-Hebrew is considered a Gentile, right? Now, the Gentiles are pagans, and these are people or a community of people who are observing the polytheistic religions of old time, right? But these things are heathen, which is from the New Unger's Dictionary, is all the nations of the earth. But afterward, the Hebrews became a people of distinguishing from the other nations, and they were separated. They became a separated people. Why? Because Yahweh was making claim to his inheritance, which have always been us, right? But he was letting us know after the garden incident that, hey, you need to separate yourself from the heathen. You mean separate yourself from the heathen right here, right? Don't follow their ways. Don't practice their culture. You're Hebrew. You're my people, right? So that's what that is getting at. Now, Revelation chapter 18, verse 6 says, "Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her." Right? Now, that's double, two, and then double again, according to her works. "In the cup which she has filled to her double." So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 again is 8, which is keth, right? And that means to enclose. We're going to get to that. Right now. Now, keth in the Hebrew is life of life. Oh, see, you must enclose yourself, meaning you must separate yourself from your surroundings. All right, you must give up that life and come back to your true life. Okay, told you we're gonna get to it. Praise Yahweh. That's your reward. Remember, your recompense is either good or ill, and it's all based off of your service, okay? So if your service is wishy-washy, it's going to be ill. If your service is moral, just, and righteousness, then it's going to be good, okay? It's the requital either from your negative life or the approval of your positive life, okay? Everything is negative and positive. There's only two sources of energy that you can spiritualize into. You can either be negative and face negative and ill recompense, or you can be positive and face good and, everlasting life recompense, right? Again, the choice is totally up to you. Now, again, reward is the death, the recompense, or the retaliation, right? Now, death is the somatic death, right? Which is a biological death. It's the demise. It's the thanatu. It's the necro. So again, the necro, and then it's been transliterated to negro, right? That's where negro comes from. It comes from the necro, which is the mental death, right? It's the perishing, the releasing, and the leaving of life. When we ate of the philosophy of Satan, we were starting to separate ourselves from the spiritualization of life. And we started to chase after the carnal, right? So now you need to kill that and come back over here to the spiritual life. Praise Yahweh. Now, the somatic is of or pertaining to the body as distinguished from a bodily part, the mind, or the environment. So again, we have become fleshly, material people, and we need to dematerialize ourselves and return back into the spiritual. Praise Yahweh, which is the human conscience that originates in the brain, and it is manifested especially in thought, perception, feeling, will, memory, or imagination. It's giving back the mindset of America to itself, freeing you from her control, cleansing your soul, fasting, permanently cleansing your emotions and perceptions, philosophy, dietary, ideology, education, as well as you're cleansing yourself from her religion and name. Now, you have to give her back her name. All right, your name ain't John, your name ain't Blueberry, it ain't Cold Pepper, it ain't Dive In and Diners. It's none of these crazy funny names. You have Hebrew names. You are a Hebrew Israelite, all right? So you must gain back your identity in order for you to become incarnate again. Now, demise is the transfer of an estate by lease or will. It is the transfer of a ruler. You must demise the rulership here, meaning you must let go of the presidents here. You must let go of the mayors here, and you must return unto Yahweh, okay? You have to face that east and start step by step having the constitutional arrangement or the constituting arrangement, because you could say it two ways, and you have to break it down in parts that's easy for your mind to understand and start to work your way back home. That's the only way you can save yourself, okay? So then that too is the death as a personification or as a philosophical notion, which is a notion as a belief, opinion, mental image, or representation. Now, recompense is the requital, the reparation, the satisfaction, the atonement, the amends, the return, the restitution, and the workman's compensation, which is again giving a big shout out to 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. Now, retaliate is to retort, counter, strike back, hit back at, give in return, and turn the tables on. Okay? So this is what we must do. This is what flee means. Flee means all of that. All right? All of that. We must flee. So no matter where you are at, if you are, a Hebrew and they put you in the Jamaican islands and you see this, Yahweh is your God. We are the same people. Don't let them trick you to say, oh, you Jamaican and they American. No, we're all the same people. You just got dropped off there. If you a Hebrew that got dropped off in the lands of the Caribbean and you in Puerto Rico, right? You not Puerto Rican. You are a Hebrew Israelite. You were just dropped off there. If you are a Hebrew Israelite that got dropped off in Honduras or in Mexico, you are not Latin. You are Hebrew. You just got dropped off there. We're all the same people, right? So we need to give back that knowledge to them, and we need to take home and become a part of our true history, right? Yahweh is the name of God. Yahweh ben Yahweh is the Mashiach. He is the Messiah. He is the Adonai. He is the Lord. Yahweh ben Yahweh is the Elohim Gabor. He is the mighty God who have come back for his people. Praise Yahweh. Now, I ask you to join me and face the east. Let's offer up the tefillah unto our Father Yahweh on this beautiful day that we were all blessed to see again. Tefillah, Avanu Sabat Shemayim, Yikadar Shemeakar, Tavamakut Teakar, Yer Seri Zonkar, Kivashamayim Kain Ba'aretz, Elekin Kukenu, Tain Lanu Hayom, Uslak Lanu, Alkarteenu, Kimosha Sol Kim, Gamanatanu, Lakotiin Lanu, Ve'atefienu, Adeni Sayon, Kakar Senu, Min Hara, Kilaka, Hamamlaha, Ve'hagevara, Ve'hataferet, Leolame, Olamin, Sila. We thank you, O Yahweh, for coming back to us as Yahweh ben Yahweh, as you said you would, freeing us and giving us a chance to be free. For we created not ourselves, but you have created us. And for that, we sing praises We sing praises unto your name. Psalms 100. We love you, Yahweh, because you told us to sing praises with understanding. Psalms 47:7. And we know that by us returning home, you will heal our minds. The book of Yirmiyahu, chapter 17, verse 8. Yahweh, because we know that our minds is most deceitful, verse 8. But verse 14, we know that we can ask for healing and our mind shall be healed. And we thank you, Yahweh. We love you, Yahweh, forever. Aniyahab, praise Yahweh, praise Yahweh, ben Yahweh. All right, family. You have a good day. Continue to study. Continue to have application of perfection. Praise Yahweh.